pillows itchy. It's been itching my back for 20 minutes. I got angry.
Hi, welcome to Serene Vocal Studio. Danny's checking out my resume. Your phone's buzzing. Danny's checking out my resume, which is fantastic because we're going to talk about audition mistakes that nobody talks about. This is kind of part 2 of how to prepare for your audition. Dun dun dun. You need to have a resume. You need to have yourself on paper as who you are. What are you noticing about this resume that you might...
Very organized.
Oh.
So it obviously starts off with starting off with your name because you got to know who your audition. The casting manager's not got to know who they're working with.
So on mine, typically at the top are just your basic information, which I don't, it doesn't really matter what's up there.
No.
Next, I have my theater experience. I have my training, and my training includes my acting, my vocal, my dance, and I did put my my degree on there just because, I don't know, a lot of people have degrees, and I just figured I'd put it on there. And then my music experience in terms of all the different musical things I've done, and then my special skills at the bottom.
So this is a great format to have to show what qualities you're bringing to the show and also how much training you have. When you're comes to writing a resume, you want to make sure that it has the most recent show first, and then after that, I would put in the relevance to the show you're auditioning for, just because that's going to influence, okay, if I did Dracula in the past or Sweeney Todd, then it's going to influence if you're auditioning for Jekyll and Hyde. But if you're like, oh, I've done Alan Menken stuff before, why those shows is because they're difficult music. Frank Wildhorn, Stephen Sondheim, that type of music is hard. So you want to make sure, I can do this. I've sang these songs before.
Yeah.
But then if you're auditioning for Little Mermaid, then it's like, look, I've done Lion King, I've done Little Mermaid, or Beauty and the Beast, so it's like, I know Alan Menken's work as well.
Disney!
Woo!
So on this resume, I have 5 shows to show for myself.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter when you did them, you just want to show that you did them. My advice, though, is make sure they're recent. So I would not, personally, because high school was a long time ago for me, I would not use any of those shows. Even though I was King Arthur in Spamalot, I was Count Malachi in Happy Days the Musical. It's a real thing, apparently. And then Pirate King and Sergeant of Police and Pirates of Penzance, I wouldn't use those because it was so long ago. And I'll be honest, I don't remember the songs.
I think if you have enough under your belt to kind of replace those,
Yes.
then I think you can. Because, for example, my Maybell I did when I was 18 years old. I had just graduated from high school when I did that one. But
again, it's good experience.
It was good experience. Make sure your resume is up to date, that it shows you where you're at today, and decide whether or not you want to put stuff on or take stuff off. I recently took some things off, which I was like, that's not needed anymore.
Yeah.
So I just took it off. It was great.
On top of that, when you're submitting a resume, you want to make sure you have a current headshot as well. Now, headshots doesn't necessarily mean selfie. It could mean a selfie, but you want to make sure it's showing off the best, most honest angle of yourself. Now, you can go to get a professional photographer, #Kim Fillmore, or you can, she owes us money, by the way, we're going to make it happen. Or you can just take one yourself. What you want to make sure, though, is your background is blank. You don't want your family photos in the background.
I wouldn't even have these in the background.
Yeah.
No.
You want to make sure that you're having just a blank background so they can literally, again, mentally place you into the scene. That's going to help you.
Yeah.
And why I say current is because you want to make sure whether you are right now 18 or 83, you want to make sure it's current.
Yeah.
You don't want your 6th grade graduation photo or a photo from 20 years ago representing who you are. I would also suggest, again, take it with a grain of salt. If you're, for example, 50 pounds heavier or lighter than you were the last time you took a headshot, update that as well. You want to make sure that when you come into the room, the casting committee recognizes you. You don't want to be, who's that? And you're looking at it and the photo is someone completely different and you walk in with half your head shaved, tattoos all over your face, and you're here, it's different. Like you want to be recognized.
I would not recommend face tattoos if you're going to do theater.
Yeah, or even visible tattoos. They
put them in
those are a little
places
harder.
that you won't see.
Yeah, again, take that with a grain of salt, but it's easier to cast you when you're a blank slate, because they can change what you need to, even add fake tattoos there if your character requires them.
So in our previous video, we did talk about dressing for auditions, and I was just kind of thinking about when you show up to the audition and you want to look like yourself, your headshot needs to look like you. What would you say for the ladies in terms of what they put on their face for makeup?
Correctional makeup? Like, you don't need to be gaudy to all nines. You just need to, just basic corrective makeup.
What does that even mean?
You don't need sparkly eyeshadow. You don't need glittery lip balm. You don't need wings out to here.
Okay, question. Is my makeup right now gaudy to all nines?
No. It's just corrective makeup. It's basic everyday makeup. You don't need to go crazy.
This is my filming makeup. It may be a little heavier, but I tend, whenever I'm in front of the camera or teaching or in a professional situation, face.
And that's fine.
It's on.
That's fine, because think what do you want to put on stage, and then if you think the character needs sparkly eyeshadow and wings to your ears, go for it, I guess.
Grease, baby, grease. So when you go to an audition, they're going to hand you, well, not always, but often they will hand you an audition form, and on this audition form, there are questions that I think can make or break whether or not you get cast. So going in, I think it's important for you to honestly have it figured out. Like, what kind of commitment are you prepared to give this theater? Are you prepared to give them this much of your time or this much of your time? Are you willing to just do a lead? Do you want to do a supporting character? Do you want any role? It doesn't matter if it's a lead or ensemble. Like, where's your headspace at? And I think going in prepared with that is going to help you know how to fill out those forms, because they're going to ask you questions like, what?
Are you willing to accept any role? Now, you go in auditioning for the lead role, you're like, I want the lead so bad, but I could also take any other role. Then say, yeah, I'm willing to accept any role, because you're willing to accept the time, whatever the commitment ends up being, and understand the director may see you in a different role than you auditioned for. Yeah. So if you're willing to do that and you're like, yeah, I just love the show and I want to be a part of it and I don't care what, then say yes. The other question they often put is, are you willing to be ensemble? Which means you don't get any of the roles you think you could be, but you're on ensemble. Now, ensemble, they're the glue that keeps the show together. It's an important role. Yeah. But it is also, one, may not be what you want. Simple as that. But it's also quite a time commitment. Despite what they say, like, ensemble is probably some of the heaviest work. They're in probably more scenes more often than not than the leads are. So it's a bigger time commitment. And again, if you're like, I just want to be on a show, I love it so much, put yes. But if you're like, that is not worth my time, that is not going to be help me vocally or acting or dancing or whatever your personal goals are, if you know it's not going to help you, then just say no. Because if you're like, I'll accept any role except for ensemble, the directors know what they're working with. And they know, your time commitment. Yeah. And your limits. Yes.
Do you think directors ever think of it as, well, they're not moldable?
I think that's hit or miss. It can be. I think it definitely can be that way of they're not willing to see themselves in other things. It could definitely be that. Or they understand they only have time for those roles. So in a recent show, there was an actor who, he got the lead. Mind you, he got the lead. But he was like, I have like 16 other things and I only want to be the lead for this show because like I love the show and I know I can be this character, but I only have time. Like, I'm only willing to sacrifice the time because it's commitment. Like, when you've got a family and other responsibilities in life and school and college and yada, 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 kids, you're cutting out a chunk of time. So it's a time commitment and it's hard. Yeah. So he said, I can only take time away from my family and business. And he went on, I'm summarizing because I'm not trying to give away who it is, but he was like, I can only commit this time if I'm the lead. Yeah. And he made that known. He's like, I love the show, but he's like, but also like, if I'm not the lead, then I can't rationalize the time because of the commitment. And they're like, yeah, we understand. And he almost didn't get it. I almost got it. But he almost got it. He almost didn't get it, but then he ended up getting it. So it was great. Like, it was worth his time and he did a great job.
That's great. Yeah. For him.
Yep. I've known other people who, well, they definitely are the unmoldable divas, where they were like, I walk in and you should kiss the ground and walk on. I'm only going to be this role. They have this attitude, by the way. Literally, it's like, and then when they don't get it, they storm out and they end up bad-mouthing people, which is, again, if you see our other video, that follows.
You don't want to work with somebody who's unworkable.
Yes.
So there's that. I think you have a greater chance to get in the show if you're willing to show that you are open to anything. From the directors I've worked with, they like it when you're open because they can mold you to whatever they need you to be.
Yes.
And if you need to build your resume, by all means, go for it. And like you said before, the ensemble is the glue that holds the show together. And on a form recently that I saw, in the ensemble area, it said, small time commitment. And I'm like, I'm calling bull because that is not actually true. If it's any sort of dancing show, the ensemble is there for every single rehearsal to dance their butts off because it takes a ton of time to learn however many numbers you're doing. Like, it's time and it's difficult. You have to get everybody on the same page. So I think, honestly, ensemble is one of the hardest roles and time commitments. So many costume changes just because you're filling all the gaps for in between the leads.
And I say this to everyone because I've been ensemble, I've been lead, I've been supporting, I've been at least one of every single character. I've been ensemble a lot. And some of the most fun has been ensemble.
Yeah.
So if you're like, I keep getting ensemble, don't get discouraged because it's going to show through. You're going to get the supporting and leading character. But also understand you're recognized and you're valued in the show. Don't get discouraged because ensemble. Okay?
Yeah. And don't ever say, I'm just ensemble.
That is a great way to piss off a lot of directors because you are the glue of the show. Without you, it's awkward silence in between scenes and in between big numbers. It's just like cricket, 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 and then, big numbers, and then cricket, 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 and then awkward empty space.
It's generally the parts of the show that people come to see, a lot of times. Because the stuff in between, the actual storyline, sometimes it's wonderful, but sometimes those are the parts that's a little bit like, I'm falling asleep.
Think of Be Our Guest. Lumiere is great, but you want to see the giant dance number.
Oh, yeah.
You're not going to see Lumiere strutting around the stage by himself. That's awkward.
That would be so awkward.
That would be uncomfortable. You want to see the giant dance number, and they can't do that without ensemble. So, now you've been cast. Great. Most theaters, they have a contract of some sort, whether that's an actual physical contract or a verbal commitment. You want to make sure that you're honest there because they are going to say, hey, here's the schedule, here's the time commitment, here's what we need out of you. If you know you can't commit that time, it's easier to not accept the role first. Yeah. But because if you are halfway through rehearsals and then drop the show, that's going to leave a bad taste for you.
That's a big no-no. Even if you go to the first rehearsal, which is like the cast meeting, and then drop the show, I also think that is going to put a bad taste in the director's mouth, and they won't cast you again. Yeah. Like, ever.
It follows you around. Like I said, directors talk. So if they're like, because I think there's a couple people that come to mind who I've heard through the chatter, background chatter, where they won't get cast because they keep getting cast and then they keep dropping. And it happened like 4 consecutive times. If they get audition, they get a role, then like either first rehearsal or a week later, they drop.
Oh my gosh.
Because they found a better opportunity. So don't be that person of, this better thing came up over and over and over again. Yeah, you got to do what's best for you, but turn down the role before you accept it. Camera.
No, it's fine. I'll get it.
Okay.
It's fine. So speak up just a little bit more.
Okay, I can speak up.
not
Will
like
do.
Yelling.
Yes, ma'am.
So when you fill out your form and you say, I will accept any role, you have to follow through with that integrity. That will help you in the long run and in the short term than being a diva and saying, I don't want that role. The most recent show I auditioned for, I said I will not do ensemble. And I had to stick to my guns because that's what I said. And kind of days passed, I found out some of our friends are in it. And I'm like, it was a little bit of like, maybe I should have done it. So I think staying open is always a good thing for that particular show. Yeah. I knew my limits and I just said no.
And you got to know your limits. That's important. And one last piece of advice that just popped into my head. If you do get cast in a show and you do accept it and it's not the role you want and maybe not even a role you wanted in your ensemble, the attitude that you bring to that show will also heavily influence and everyone else. So don't be the person sitting in the back and be like, I could do that so much better.
Yeah.
Like, don't be a diva. Like, the biggest thing of all is don't be a diva, guys. Like, don't be rude. Like, the person up there, you may be better than them. Who knows? But they got cast in that role for a reason, and it's your job to help tell the story, not be bitter and spread negativity throughout.
Yeah, for sure. That's really important. And also, I have seen Danny in ensemble, and he has the most integrity of anybody, the most commitment. He's there. He does what he says he's going to do. Like, he will always have your back in a show. If he says he's going to do it, he's going to do it. And I think that's one reason why when he does audition for things, you tend to get cast. And you're a guy. And you can sing.
My competition's less.
That's true.
By the numbers, there are less guys than girls. Simple as that. And I mean this like on the worldwide level.
Yeah.
Like, there's 7 billion, 8 billion people. Like, it's like 60-30. Like, there's a lot less guys than girls. Simple as it can be. And then in the auditioning theater world, it's an even higher concentration. The guy pool is like this. The women pool is like this. And guess what? All those women can sing. Yeah. Men over here, it's like, here's all the men auditioning.
How many of those guys can sing?
Probably half. So, but again, then the other half they're guys, and they need guys in the roles. So
yeah. Maybe the other half can't really sing, but can dance
and can act. Exactly. So, and then right in the smack there's the ones who are all three.
Triple threat.
Yep. And in that competition among the triple threats, then it starts getting tough for the leads, and that's where the fight really comes down to. Mm-hmm. So as a guy, if my competition is less, so that's also why I get cast frequently. Is I'm willing to do any role if it's a show I like or a theater I like working with. I also just help build. I just always ask, what can I do? So I help build set pieces, which that's not why I do it, but it definitely helps with your reputation of willingness to work. So.
Oh yeah, and it is work. It is hard. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for joining us today for our video, our part 2 video about, audition mistakes that nobody talks about. And honestly, we didn't talk about them as mistakes. It was just more of like, this is how you need to do it if you want to succeed. And if you don't do it, it's a mistake.
Yep.
If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the box below, like this video, and subscribe, my friends. I will see you next time here at Serene Vocal Studio. Peace.